Hello there, and welcome to GamePoints episode 148, a weekly little get-together where we talk about recent gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
David.
Tonight, a very quiet David. Very, very subdued. Very... saving his energy. He's saving his energy for this amazing week of news. Not really.
No, dude, I'm saving my energy for Friday. Let's be real.
And as such, everyone else is too. The news is a bit light this week. We do have some things we want to talk about. Some people leaving some major studios. Some boring ass business numbers that I love to get into.
You can tell the week is slow when we get into boring ass number talk.
Yeah,
which is Steven's favorite thing.
Well,
so welcome, internet.
I like to get into boring ass number talk because it gives you a good idea of what to see in the future from these companies, because they're going to go the way of the numbers. It's the old trope, right? Follow the money. If you see where the money is going, you follow that.
We'll get there though, but as always, join in the chat if you want to talk at us, or you have other cool topics that you think of that we don't mention, because that's entirely possible, and we'll talk back at you.
This is audience interactive, so please feel free to join in any conversation. If you happen to be watching us here live right now, hop right in. If you're watching us over at YouTube, feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. You all know what we're looking for, because every streamer says the same goddamn thing over and over again.
We just want your internet love.
And so, yeah, let's go ahead and get to the small mound news. First of all, I mean, if you don't know why there's only small news and nothing really big, it's because, well, the elephant in the room is not Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Nailed it. Poof.
Yeah, dude, we talked about it a little bit last week, and obviously we'll talk about that when we get to new releases, but we don't really need to wait. That game is coming out real soon, and everyone is terrified of it. So there's no news, there's no announcement, there's no other really big games happening.
Right.
But a few things have happened.
Yes.
So.
Starting off with this first topic, this is somewhat breaking. This was announced earlier today, and this is going to be via IGN.
Thanks, guys.
Jade Raymond leaves EA's Motive Studios. Full disclosure, I have worked with someone who's currently at Motive Studios. He is currently there. He is currently writing for Motive, so keep that in mind as we talk about this story. Jade Raymond leaves EA's Motive Studios.
Jade Raymond also founded EA's Motive Studios.
Absolutely. From the article itself. Motive Studios founder Jade Raymond has left the company, according to Electronic Arts. Samantha Ryan, who currently runs EA's Mobile, Maxis, and BioWare, will now oversee Motive Studios as well. By the way, that means Samantha Ryan literally runs every studio at EA except for EA Sports and Respawn.
And DICE.
DICE is independent, I believe. I'm not positive.
Oh, I guess they could be.
I need to actually look into that. I could be wrong on that. DICE could be one of them. But she oversees a lot of EA stuff. Wait a minute, that's weird. I could have sworn Maxis was shut down, or maybe they just laid everyone off and kept the name. Either way,
yeah, probably.
Either way, Samantha Ryan is currently in charge of a lot of EA properties at the moment. Here is from the full statement that was sent to IGN by John Rezeberg, who's the head of communications. They're essentially their top PR guy. And the article goes on to say, or the statement goes on to say, EA Studios is focused on bringing more creative new games and content to players. Laura Millet and her team have taken several steps internally to better support our game makers in this pursuit, such as expanding Samantha Ryan's portfolio to lead additional studios, including Motive. Samantha is known for driving creative design and supporting the game teams so they can bring their visions to life. She is a deeply experienced game maker with a gameography that spans from Sims to Batman Arkham City to No One Lives Forever to the highly anticipated Anthem. I'm going to pause right here. How dare they list No One Lives Forever on this list of games? A franchise, I might add, that hasn't been visited for like 15 years. By the way, if you never had a chance to play No One Lives Forever and its sequel and its spin-off Contract Jack, god damn, were those amazing games. They were made by Monolith, the guys that did Fear. I believe that was them. And they're amazing games, and I'm kind of upset at EA for mentioning it, because anytime EA mentions a classic game I loved, I'm expecting a free-to-play version of it coming out anytime now. Going back on with the statement. With this change, Jade Raymond had decided to leave Electronic Arts. In her time with us, Jade helped build great teams, and our projects underway at Motive and other studios continue unchanged. We're appreciative of all of her efforts, and we wish Jade all the best as she moves on to her next adventure. We are driving greater creativity into everything we do across EA Studios, and we look forward to sharing more in the months to come. End quote. This is the second big developer to leave EA in a year that we know of. We had Amy Hennig leaving after Visceral Studios closed down and the Star Wars project that she was working on got canceled. Jade Raymond, who was very largely involved with the campaign to Star Wars Battlefront 2 and was working on a unannounced open world IP from EA, now leaving as well. And it doesn't sound like she necessarily left of her own terms the way that statement's
It's
written.
weird because she was with Ubisoft.
Yeah, in fact, she was instrumental in creating Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed 2, Watch Dogs, all that stuff she was involved in. And then she hopped on EA in 2015, made Motive Studio, got a project, got another project that was shut down, worked on Battlefront 2, which was not well received, and now she's just gone. Although there's another article from VentureBeat that mentioned that Jade Raymond has decided to leave Electronic Arts. So I don't know.
Well, I don't think she was fired. And I'm reading way into the statement here. But hey, Introspect, by the way, thanks for showing up. We just got started, so I'm glad that you're here. The way the statement reads, it sounds like they put Samantha Ryan in charge of Motive, demoting Jade, and then she's like, no, I'm out.
Yeah, well, because she was given like her own little studio, and then basically got to do nothing with it for 3 years.
And it's this line specifically right here, because the first half of the PR press statement said the press statement says, "Hey, Samantha Ryan's coming in," and then halfway through it says, "With this change, Jade Raymond has decided to leave Electronic Arts."
Yeah, like that does make sense because they talk about Samantha for most of the article, and then they say, "Oh, by the way, Jade's leaving."
Yeah, the way this is written presents this as Samantha coming in, and Jade Raymond did not agree with that. So who knows if it was mutual or she was having something taken away from her. We do know that EA has been very... EA has had a tough time lately, especially in the press, especially with Star Wars. And it seems like there's a lot of blowback. A lot of developers are speaking off the record saying, hey, things fucking suck right now if you're working on anything Star Wars or that EA. All because...
Which is just weird because it feels like EA just doesn't know what to do with the license.
And I think that's what's going on.
They've had it since, 2013 and managed to make 1.5 games? Because don't tell me Battlefront 2 is fucking anything.
If I were to speculate, I would say that the Battlefront 2 fiasco was such a shit show that when Disney themselves had to get involved, they lined a bunch of EA executives against the wall and said, fucking fix this or we are coming after you and we're going to make it hurt. And EA executives panicked. Yeah, EA executives panicked, and now they're like, okay, we have to fucking redo everything, go back to the drum board with all this shit, and it's pissing people off who have spent 2, 3, 4 years trying to make something, and now they're just bouncing out. Now, this is all speculation. While I know someone who is at EA Motive, it's not like we're on daily talking terms or anything like that, so I'm not saying anything that might be privileged information. This is all just me spitballing here, but that's what this feels like.
Dude, that's what our whole show's about, is spitballing. And it definitely feels like EA just has no idea what the fuck to do with the Star Wars license. They've tried to screw it up. Disney said, hey, stop that. They all freaked out. They're running away from it. Even though, for all intents and purposes, they should be printing money. They could have a million different Star Wars games with a ton of different genres.
How do you make people hate Star Wars?
That's so ridiculous. They're like, okay, what we're going to do is we're just going to make it exactly like Battlefield, and we're going to do that twice, and we're going to make no other thing. One of the richest and deepest lores in, like, pop culture history, and they don't want to deal with any of that. They just want to make missions where you run around on a static level and shoot each other.
And that campaign was garbage. That campaign was total garbage. It's not good. One thing that I want to point out, too, is that Samantha Ryan, who I remember how I said she is like in charge of a lot of EA, you would figure if this was a planned departure, they probably would have put someone in who has a lot less on their plate. I'm not saying that Samantha Ryan can't handle it. I don't know her from Eve. But she is already in charge of at least 3 studios, adding a 4th one on there. And not just 3 studios, but BioWare. She is running BioWare right now, according to this article. They have a big game on the horizon that she kind of needs to be focusing on.
Yeah, but the thing is Motive is probably not actively doing anything. Maxis, I'm sure as hell, is not doing
No, Motive's doing
anything.
stuff. Motive is actively doing stuff.
What does Motive actually, like, they're working on something?
Yeah, they're working on. Remember, they're working on some unannounced third-person open world IP. They are actively doing something right now. Even if what it feels like right now is that they're just kind of like a touch-up team.
Yeah, it feels like they're spinning their wheels. I mean, we don't know anything, and all we can really go off of is like hearsay and making shit up and hoping that some of it sticks. But I don't know. It just seems weird.
Yeah, just something. Something doesn't feel like this. Jade Raymond has not issued any statement according to this. She just now started tweeting again as of 20 minutes ago.
I hope she just goes to join Amy Hennig's new studio and they just make something totally badass and EA has to kick themselves for losing just outrageously good talent.
What I would love to see is Amy Hennig go back and get the Legacy of Kain IP that she was instrumental in creating and bringing Jade Raymond onto that team. Because you could imagine what they could do with that license.
That'd be fantastic.
Let's see. Let's go and chat.
Or they could try and sort out who actually owns No One Lives Forever and buy it. Since no one knows.
Yeah, that's one of those things that like just it's no one really wasn't that part of the big Interplay bust?
Yeah, so the problem is that like that license is owned by someone, but no one really knows, but no one actually wants to sell it in case they own it, but no one actually wants to do anything with it.
And no one wants to go to court to fight over it because it's fucking No One Lives Forever, and the reason why there aren't another game in it is because no one played it.
Yeah, you did.
Let's turn to chat real quick. Introspect says they skipped Battlefront 2 when it came out recently, got it, and actually quite enjoyed the multiplayer from time to time. You know, they did a lot of changes for it. They ripped out all the star card bullshit. They rebalanced it to where it doesn't feel like it's pay to win anymore. And if I would have spent $5 or $10 on it, I think I would have been fine. $60 is a high price.
DICE makes a good shooter. I've always been kind of like the Battlefield fan, and I mean, I thought Battlefront was cool. The sound design's amazing, and the aesthetic's cool. It's just, you know, yes, it's Battlefront 2, but it's not Battlefront 2. If that makes any sense. Because it's the new one, not the one from 2006 or whatever.
The blatant cash grabbiness of it was just such a turnoff. Like, you play that game, and you could tell just by playing that game, it was meant to wear you down to get you to buy extra shit. And it wasn't free. If it was a free-to-play game, that would be one thing. Because you know you have to pay somewhere on a free-to-play game, despite being called free to play, either with your time or with your credit card. But this was a $60 game at launch, and people were like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, it's a shame to see that happening. I do wish Jade Raymond the best. I think she is very talented, and I'm sure that there will be some studio somewhere to scoop her up off of her feet. I would be super interested to see if Amy Hennig isn't like talking with her right now, going, "Hey, let's work something." Because as far as I know, Amy Hennig has not announced what she's doing yet either.
Nope.
We
just know that she's putting together a studio.
But yeah, so big shakeups at EA, and I think it's directly related because of the Battlefront 2 thing and Disney going, "What the fuck are you doing?" But just speculation. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What you think this means. Did Jade leave voluntarily, or was she kind of pissed off, or was she forced out even? And what the future for Motive holds. Motive's
I'm going to speculate it's money.
Motive's a new studio. But like you said, what are they doing actually? And EA is notorious for chopping off stuff.
Just normally they let them launch a game first.
Yeah. What if Motive goes down? And I mean, I feel bad for saying this. What if Motive goes down as one of? What if they go down as being chopped before they release the game? And I was about to say the first time that's ever happened, but is that the first time that's happened?
I doubt it. I bet it's not even the first time that EA's done that.
Yeah, I'm like, has there ever been a studio that was formed and completely axed before they even released one game? I need to look at this now because give me 1 second.
Oh man, you could look that up.
Yeah,
That'll be fine.
Why don't you talk about this next story while I look this up real quick?
Oh, okay, so since we're talking about EA already, we can talk about the way they're building their games and the fact that games as a service is basically here to stay. We've talked about this before. We speculated on a lot of this. In a interesting article from a place we don't normally talk about, and I'm sure it's something that Steven loves to read because it's boring numbersy stuff.
Absolutely.
From DFC Intelligence, there was basically a story talking about the value of EA, the value of Activision, how much they've grown, and where all the growths come from. So back in 2012, EA, the company was worth about $4 billion. Today, it's hovering at $30 billion. Activision in 2012 was 10. Now it's over 60, which is insane. That's crazy growth. It's kind of funny because investors at this point are actually starting to pay attention to the games industry, which is always kind of like scoffed off like there was nothing. But, you know, Call of Duty, when it released a couple weeks ago, made more money than Infinity War did in 72 hours.
Infinity War or Infinite Warfare?
Yes. No.
Oh, the movie.
I'm talking about the movie.
Sorry, I was thinking of the previous Call of Duty.
The global release of probably one of the biggest entertainment pieces that's come out recently was just crushed by the yearly Call of Duty game.
Right.
That's just how it works. Video games make more money and people are starting to pay attention.
And the important thing to take away from all this, though, is that all of this growth, according to this article, is coming from people recognizing the long-term potential in games as a service.
Yeah, now we're talking about our least favorite thing, the microtransactions.
Yep.
And
not just microtransactions, but season passes.
DLC and season passes and all that extra little nickel and dime stuff that your games like to offer you, because I know people say that the single-player games are dying, but it's not that. It's the concept of I paid $60 for a full-featured video game, and that's all of it, is kind of dying. There are some exceptions, even from this year, of like full games that you could pay money for. But the companies that are making the most money, EA and Activision, aren't really pushing games that way. I mean, you can look at Overwatch. That's a game you pay $40 for, and then they expect you to just keep putting money into loot boxes and everything else. You have Rainbow Six, you've got Fortnite, you've got PUBG, you've got just games that are making a ton of money, and they're all built on the idea that you're just going to keep playing it, and you're going to keep spending money on it.
It's no longer a game wants your $60. It's now games want your $60 and your time to go along with it. And what this means is you're going to see more and more things doing that dreaded MMO idea of the weekly quest or the weekly event. You have Hitman 2.
Or you got to check in, or you get more items, and blah, blah, blah.
You have Hitman 2 coming out soon. Hitman 1 had all those elusive targets where if you didn't play Hitman this week, you might miss the elusive target and never get it again. You have Rainbow Six with all their new characters constant releasing. Let's stick to the single-player side of things. The newest Assassin's Creed Odyssey, has all of this weekly quest bullshit thrown in there.
Well, Forza Horizon 4 has the seasons, and there's new events available every season.
Right. So it's all designed to get your time in addition to your money now. And
because they just assume if you spend all your time with one video game, then you'll be like, oh, well, I guess this game's more worth my money than other games because I'm constantly playing it. So I'll throw in $5. Hoping that there's a few people that are going to throw in $1,000.
The problem with this mindset is, while I don't want to say people's cash is infinite, right? Because it's not. But people can usually scrounge up an extra $60 if they really want something. One thing that is worth more than that $60 is people's time. And you are going to now start cutting into each other's game cells with it. But when you're making, 2012, it was $4 billion. 14 years later, they're $30 billion. What is that, a five times increase? No, I can math. Right? I can math.
You can get there.
Seven-ish.
There you go.
Times increase.
Good enough.
This is going to be how the future of video games are going to go, and I think it's going to cause a backlash in time. Not right now. You're not going to see immediately. But whereas, like I was saying, people can kind of scrounge up an extra $60 here and there, they can't just magically make another 4 hours a week appear in their schedule.
Well, also, Introspect and Chat brings up a good point. which version should I buy of said game? Because that's another thing. You don't just have the $60 game anymore. You have the $60 version and the $80 version and the $100 version. And this one comes with the season pass, but the season pass doesn't come with all the DLC. It only comes with the first 2 DLCs.
Does
And
this
even
game
if you do get the season pass, it doesn't come with the bonus weapon or the bonus item or the bonus whatever.
Yeah.
So you have to buy it from GameStop or you have to buy it from Best Buy, and it's just fucking bullshit. And
do I get
stop.
the Destiny 2 on PlayStation 4 with the exclusive strike, or do I get it on Xbox where all my friends are at, or do I buy it on PC because
It actually
health
looks
console
good.
peasants?
Zing.
Conversely, too, you have to start doing more research. Does this game gate off players who don't all have the same content? Do they split the community? Because I know that was an issue for a while. Is there fucking crossplay between all this stuff? Can I transfer progress back and forth? If you want to know one of the main reasons why Fortnite is so successful with that transfer of progress thing is because of a limited time. We're already starting to bounce up against it, and people don't have time to fucking go, okay, well, I put all this time on the Switch.
Well, that's why like MOBAs got so big a while ago, is because, oh man, I only have a half hour or an hour to play video games. Well, I'll just do this.
Yeah.
I can get in a couple rounds of this game. It's no big deal. Rocket League's a perfect example because the matches are 5 minutes long. And you're like, oh man, I'm getting ready for work. I got 6 minutes to kill. I guess I'll play a match of Rocket League. Like, you could do that. And then there's these games that just want you to sit there, and they want your weekend, and they want your evenings, and they want basically you to stop going to work.
And this shit affects the gameplay itself. I look at my recent review of Assassin's Creed Odyssey as an example to this.
I was actually going to bring that up.
The first 20 hours of that game, I fucking loved. I was like, this is game of the year material right here. The next 20 hours, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this to end. Okay, I'm ready for it to finish. By hour 60, I was just tired of the game, and the grind started becoming apparent, and I could start seeing where they wanted me to come back week after week after week and spend money on the fucking XP booster I see in the store.
It's an old school RPG mechanic. Back in the day, you could get RPGs on like the Super Nintendo or the PlayStation era, and it's a game that you know you're going to sink a bunch of time into, and it's going to have a whole big story, but it's also going to have a big kind of grindy element. That's just something that's been in those games. Yes, you can rush through, but most of the time they want you to sit and level up your characters and get stronger before you can make the next little bit of progress. And these like big open world games are basically getting there. I played some Odyssey recently, and I put several hours into it, and then at some point, like, I'm still kind of playing it off and on, but the game just feels like it doesn't actually respect my time. It's like, oh man, there's this guy, but he's a level higher than you, and so you can't fight him, so you got to go do a bunch of stupid ass side quests so that you can actually fight him, because even though you're barely weaker than him, you can almost not do damage to him.
Yeah, like one level difference in Assassin's Creed Odyssey is fucking insane.
Yeah, and it's just stupid. Once again, bringing me back to the fact that I've started playing Dark Souls again, and that game you can fight pretty much anything if you're good at it.
There are people who will do no armor level 1 soul runs at like NG9.
Yeah, and that's a thing that you can do. You can just get good at the game, but I don't know, the way these open world games are going, it's just not quite the same.
The way a lot of games. I don't want to limit it to open world games. And this has been a problem that's been going on for a while. Like Dead Space 3, for example, comes to mind with their, hey, no, we want your time. We want you to grind this out. But you can always buy the booster. You can't use
Dead Space 3 as a recent example anymore.
I can and I will. What I'm saying is that this has been going on for a while. Not that it's a recent example. It's just been going on for a while. It's just getting more and more prevalent and more unexcusable as time goes on. And man, like I said, Assassin's Creed Odyssey was game of the year material for the first 20 hours. By the time I finished that game at hour 80, because that game, to get all the endings, because there are 3 main storylines that you can finish, you have to be max level. You have to be level 50, because there are enemies on there that are level 50. And as we just mentioned, 1 level difference in that game is fucking brutal. It will stomp on your ass. So the game demands you max out your level, which is a lot of grinding. At least 40 hours of that game was spent with me clearing out the same ass looking forts over and over again, or doing the same boring ass fight over and over again when you get the 2 sides to clash. And all that meantime, there's that fucking Ubisoft store that you see the icon for every time you go in the menu that says, hey, buy an XP boost.
And they're like, oh no, we didn't build the game so that you really have to grind. You can definitely get through everything. This is just for people that don't want to spend as much time with the game, which also kind of artificially inflates the time you have to spend with the game.
If you're, it's weird that this has turned into a bitching about grind, but here we are now. If you have to sell things separately from the game that make you get through your game faster because you know your game is boring, that's a problem with your game design, man.
Yep.
You're literally selling an item that is meant to get people through your game faster. What does that say?
And they had this whole conversation of, oh, we didn't build the game with this stuff in mind. Like, fuck,
No, you didn't. Yeah, but bullshit. Yes, you did. But what does that say about your own confidence in your game? That, it's player choice, blah, blah, blah. It's like, motherfucker, no, it's not. If it was player choice, you would just have an option in the options that say double experience. You wouldn't be chopping it off and selling it for another $10. You can do this. I've seen it. PC games do it all the time, where you can pick the option to go, okay, boop, give me 2 times experience. Anyways, this idea as games as a service, this idea that they're going to demand more and more of your time, not just your money, but your time, is going to increase.
Yeah, which is just absurd because there's not enough time to play the game.
And it just makes too much money for it otherwise. Introspect in chat says, it's nice to be able to have a game that's so great, it sucks you in to spend a lot of time with it, but I've always enjoyed having a variety of games of different genres to play with at any given time. Same here. I love, like, The Witcher 3, for example. I put 160 some odd hours in that game. That's not counting the expansion packs, and I loved every goddamn minute of that. Now, you can argue that it does kind of fall into the same traps as Assassin's Creed or Odyssey does with its plethora of shit everywhere, but at least the stuff in The Witcher 3 seemed unique from each other for the most part. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, all the forts look identical except for the different coloring on there. So if you're going
to Witcher has a better combat system.
Yeah. If you're going to make a massive game like that, you have to keep it chock full of shit, of entertaining, new, fresh things to do. It can't just be the same thing over and over and over again. But that is what we're going to get.
The big thing with Odyssey, like, yes, it's a big, giant open world. How much of the open world are you spending just, like, riding your horse across a hill because you're sick of being on the roads, and so you're trying to make a shortcut to the next place you have to go to?
By the time that game was over, I was actively, like, you know, when you see an open world game and you have all the questions ever and you don't know what there are until you look at it, I was actively just running past every one of those question marks unless it was specifically a ruins, because I wanted to upgrade my ship. They have items that upgrade your ships. I was just skipping them. Like, the second it popped, I would immediately turn my horse somewhere else.
So funny.
I wouldn't even bother clearing it. I would see it and go, nope, that's another fort. Don't care. Oh,
anyway, this has been your 20-minute update on how games as a service are your whole life now, and you're welcome.
We went really hard on Ubisoft, and the article doesn't even mention them. It's just the EA and Activision.
Yeah, dude, that's the best part. This is an EA and Activision Blizzard article, and we're just like, fuck Ubisoft.
It's all the same though. Like, look at Black Ops, for example. No campaign, all games as a service only.
Or you can just look at anything that EA is putting out.
Yeah.
We could just bring up Battlefront 2.
I mean, Madden.
But we don't have to. Instead, we could talk about new things.
Oh, well, you would think we could talk about new things, but no. All the new stuff's getting fucking delayed.
It has to.
Announced last week, and this is from the PlayStation blog itself. The blog itself is titled PlayStation Worldwide Studios Release Lineup, the next wave PS4 games. Essentially, it talks about everything, but the detail that we need to focus on is right here. Days Gone. New release date of April 26, 2019. We want to share a change in the release date for this highly anticipated studio from Bain Studio. We recently decided to move the release of Days Gone from the crowded February timeframe up to April 26, 2019. While the studio
That's the truest shit, though.
Yeah, they straight. I will. You know the rest of it's PR speak. I give Sony the absolute biggest fucking credit for straight up saying, "Hey, February 26 is fucking impacted. We are getting the hell out of Dodge." To give you an idea of the other shit coming out on that date, you have Anthem, Crackdown 3, allegedly, I'll believe that game actually exists when I see it, and Metro Exodus, all coming out on February 22nd.
Yeah, I remember that EA E3 presentation. We're like, wait, that's also February? Oh, that's February? Oh, shit, that's also... Oh, man.
We all knew something had to give, and I thought it was going to be maybe Metro or even Crackdown, but it looks like Days Gone is the one that is bending, and Good
Oh man, I'm
on
sure you'll see
Sony.
one of the other ones move.
Yeah. I expect Metro Exodus to
I
also
see
move.
maybe 2 of those games actually launching on that day, but not even the 3 remaining.
And I love that Sony just straight up said, we recently decided to move the release of Days Gone from the crowded February timeframe. Like, they just straight up said,
So good.
this wasn't like, oh, we need to put some more polish, or we feel like we need. They straight up said, no, it's too fucking crowded. This game will get destroyed.
Yep, we're moving it. And luckily, you know that you're only going to see probably Anthem and Metro in February, because Crackdown 3 is not going to launch on this console cycle.
I will believe Crackdown 3 exists when I see it. It has hit Duke Nukem Forever.
It has not been 14 years.
What was the Shadow of the Colossus game that just came out that just went up like a hot fart?
Guardian?
Last Guardian?
Last Guardian? Yeah.
It's in that category of shit now. So we'll see. We'll believe it when we see it.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a PS2 game.
I'm kind of excited for Days Gone, actually.
Days Gone looks interesting.
I know it's just another zombie game, and a lot of people are dismissing it because of that, but
it's a shit ton of zombies, and
yeah,
you're
something
bikers.
About it.
And how many games do you get to play as a biker? Like, they made an entire game based on Daryl's character from Walking Dead.
Well, there's. Okay, so this is why I ran on your parade. One, they've already made a game based on Daryl's character from The Walking Dead. It was the actual official Daryl and Merle video game from The Walking Dead. That was a prequel to the series.
I thought you were going to say Full Throttle.
2, when it comes to biker games, you have Full Throttle. And that horrible, shitty, like, Hell on Wheels game, or whatever the fuck it was, when you're, like, the horrible motorcycle. It was really bad. It was like...
Okay, so you've now named 3 games where you play as a biker in the last 40 years of video gaming.
If you give me a long enough time, I'm pretty sure I can crank out.
You could come with Elisa Baker's dozen.
Left 4 Dead. That's a bike. The one of the main characters on Left 4 Dead. That grizzled biker guy.
Do you get to ride a motorcycle in Left 4 Dead? Shut the fuck up. You don't.
Ride a motorcycle in Dead Rising. he technically Dead Rising 2. Chuck Green. He is a professional motocross guy. He is a biker in the loosest sense of the term, and it features zombies.
Okay, well, now you have it confirmed. Days Gone is just a remake of the goddamn Zombie Mall video game.
So,
you heard it here first.
All that aside, I am actually looking forward to Days Gone. It looks cool, and I'm glad to see it get the fuck out of the way. What this means for games like The Last of Us 2, or Last of Us Part 2, which is also a post-apocalyptic zombie game, what it means is that game was never going to be coming out like in 2019 like some people were saying it was. Because they're not going to release those 2 games so close to each other at all.
Makes sense.
That game is 2021. I guarantee it's 2021.
And that will help keep my prediction that Death Stranding comes out first.
I think we're in joint agreement on that.
Yeah, but if you remember the beginning of the year, or before E3, we had predictions, and that one was mine, and you disagreed with me. So I'm just waiting for Death Stranding to come out so that you can buy me dinner.
What was the original bet?
Oh, dude, I got it written down. Hold on, I'll bring it up later.
Okay. Well, we'll worry about that later. Why don't you go ahead and move on to the next
All right, in another fun place for us to get news, via the BBC, Grand Theft Auto cheaters' homes were raided. Like kicking your door, hey, what are you doing?
I think that might be a little hyperbole.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. But the publisher of the video game Grand Theft Auto 5 has been granted the right to search the homes of 5 people accused with making cheat software. So the court order allowed Rockstar Games and its parent company Take-Two to search 2 properties in Melbourne, Australia for evidence related to a cheat known as Infamous. This was like a big Grand Theft Auto cheat for a while that let you, get God mode and start raining money down from the sky and just kill random players and all this other stuff. The cheat went offline several months ago, but the Australian federal court actually froze the assets of the 5 people who have not yet filed a defense. The big thing here, the reason why this is news or why they're even allowed it, is because the people that put this cheat together were actually charging $40 for people to buy the engine and then start hacking the game and make virtual currency and God mode and all this other stuff. So it's not just that they made a hack for the video game, because that happens all the damn time, and they'll do everything they can to stop it, but these guys made a hack software and then started selling it for money.
And that's a problem.
which violates a whole new set of laws. Because hacking a video game, I mean, you can make some kind of like trademark claim and some other stuff for that. But when you're selling a property, it's a whole new thing. But the short version is these dudes have their assets frozen, and they're only allowed to withdraw like a small amount of money from their accounts so they can continue to be alive. But until that, these kids is going to court.
That's why I hate this headline. Because if you just read this headline off the top, if you just take it at face value, it makes it sound like people are having their homes swatted by cheating in Grand Theft Auto.
It absolutely sounds like cheaters are getting swatted. It's actually
way more intense than that.
Rockstar filed a grievance in an Australian federal court, and the court said, hey, you know what? You guys got a case. Those guys, we're freezing your assets because you just made a bunch of money selling shit.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just cheaters. It's people who are selling this shit. They're essentially selling, because the only way to get these cheats to work is if you're selling the assets that Rockstar created. So I don't necessarily have sympathy for these guys. The headline makes it sound far scarier than it actually is. It's like, nah, these people are doing some fucked up shit, and it's
also not like they're all in jail right now or anything. Yeah. It's literally like, hey, your bank account has got way too much money, and we have good reason to believe that you acquired that money illicitly, and so you don't get to spend it right now. Not the court's resolved. They'll only probably face like a hefty fine at the end of it, but I doubt they're like going to prison forever.
Yeah, well, not only that, but Rockstar's going to sue these guys, or Take-Two's going to sue these guys hard, because they can show demonstrable damage created to Grand Theft Auto Online. Because every person who plays Grand Theft Auto Online who ran against someone with this infamous cheat might go, okay, I'm not playing this game anymore. Fuck that. There are too many cheaters, which means missed out revenue.
Which is exactly the reason why I stopped playing Grand Theft Auto Online. Because it was just a fucking hellscape.
And every person like you is one more customer that these guys have taken away from Take-Two through malicious means.
Which is potentially one less shark card that they sold.
Yeah.
Which, again, your games live forever and you're welcome.
Now, I want to be 100% clear. It's not like I'm saying, oh, poor Take-Two. They don't have the money to keep Grand Theft Auto going. That's bullshit. They got shit tons of money.
Take-Two is printing it right now.
But I can look at this situation and go, yeah, these guys did something fucked up. And plus, who likes cheaters anyways? Fuck that. Get out of here with that nonsense.
Something, stop breaking the law, assholes, I guess.
I don't even know if they actually broke any laws here. That's just it.
Who knows? Man, I'm not a lawyer.
Because you can get sued without breaking the law. But anyways, that's fun. Just be a little bit mindful if you see that headline popping up. That it's not like they had SWAT kicking down doors or anything like that. Because that headline is definitely written to be kind of sensationalist. What did you expect from the BBC? All right. Moving on, we are down.
I kind of expected the BBC to just report the news as is.
Yeah, that hasn't happened for quite a long time. But now we're getting into kind of whack job Steven conspiracy theories about mass media.
This dude next to me is real fucking weird, so I wouldn't really trust his opinion on a lot of stuff.
All right. Let's move on to something that actually made me just grin from ear to ear when I first heard about it, and this is from GameIndustries.biz. The headline: Ubisoft Massive COO, quote, "We don't want to take a stance in current politics." Thank fucking Christ, Massive. Yes, please, not everything needs to be a political shit show. And I'm so happy to see them go, we just want to make games that are fun and sometimes you blow some shit up. But going on from the article, let me tell you what he said in his own words and why he doesn't want to be part of #resist or #MAGA. From the article. Speaking today at the opening panel discussion of the Sweden Games Conference in Skövde, Alf Condelius said Ubisoft Massive tries to remove itself from the political interpretations people may have of games. This is a quote from him directly. "It's a balance because we cannot be openly political in our games. So, for example, in The Division, it's a dystopian future, and there's a lot of interpretations that's something we see the current society moving towards. But it's not. It's a fantasy. It's a universe and a world that we created for people to explore how to be a good person in a slowly decaying world. But people like to put politics into that, and we back away from those interpretations as much as we can because we don't want to take such a stance in current politics. It's also bad for business, unfortunately, if you want the honest truth. This is the idea of get woke, go broke. Also, the idea of just boycott culture in general, where if someone says something that pissed someone else off, and everyone starts taking sides. And an example of this would be the Nike bullshit with Colin Kaepernick, right? Nike has an ad of Colin Kaepernick on there. Oh my God, fucking MAGA Twitter starts going, we have to burn our Nikes, fuck Colin Kaepernick, blah, 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 blah. And then the other side starts going, yeah, well, fuck Chick-fil-A because they support. It's like, guys, stop. This shit doesn't work. None of it works. And it's fucking ridiculous. Anyways, going back on that guy's quote. I'm going off on a tangent here.
Yes, you are.
But it's interesting that it's a discussion that we have. And it's an ongoing discussion we have with our users, of course, because we want people to put an interpretation into the universe that we create, and they want to see their own reality with fantasies that we give them and the stories the games are. By avoiding any, end quote, by avoiding any overtly political statements, Condelis agreed, the studio is able to leave it open to interpretation, which is important for games like The Division, in which people will spend hours and hours and hours in. Yes, thank you. I don't want to be beaten over the head with some political message. That message being either support transgender rights or build a wall and send them all back. I don't want to be beaten over the head nonstop with my video games. I want them to be an escape.
An escape?
Every day I am inundated with the political bullshit in America, and it is by design because there are people who want to shove this shit down your throat, to piss you off, to make you angry because you don't think rationally when you're pissed.
Dude,
and
yeah,
to
Twitter's real
see
scary.
a company come out and say, we don't do this because, one, we don't want to take a side in this bullshit. Let you guys fucking fight it out. A pox upon both your houses. And two, it is a bad business decision.
See, I think it's funny that they had to make this statement in the first place, because you don't see like Microsoft or Sony are saying, "Oh, we're not going to be political in our games." It's just they made a game that's called The Division, and like based on what happens in the game, people kind of built their own narrative, which is totally fair. But then they came out and said, "That's not what's happening." Which, I mean, if people are building their own narrative, why does it fucking matter? Like, I don't get why he needed to say this in the first place, but maybe I'm just completely
naive.
naive.
You're a little bit naive on this topic. It's because the game journalism literati, the intelligentsia that are out there in their collective hive mind.
You're just making shit up now, right?
No, I'm dead serious on this. They did the same thing with Far Cry 5. They went, oh, The Division 2, huh? Well, it better say something about Trump in this current era of politics. And they were starting to say that if The Division doesn't speak out against Donald Trump, then they are just as guilty as those who support him. So that's why he felt like he had to say this.
Ubisoft isn't even American.
But the game is set in America. They were getting... the same thing happened to Far Cry 5. Like, people were legitimately, like, the games industry press, and I use the term colloquially, like the common name you can think of. You guys can think of these people who I'm talking about when I mention their names without actually calling them out. You know who I'm referring to.
Us?
We'll say
We're
things
in the press,
like,
right?
We'll say things like, if Far Cry 5 does not condemn white supremacy in America, then it supports white supremacy in America.
And that is why. If you're not with us, then you're against us arguments?
Yeah, and that's why more and more developers feel like they're coming and going, hey, we just don't want to be political because not everything has to be political. Coco Fatacos, thanks for coming by. Sorry you have to bounce out so quick, but it is good to see you again. And I bitch about the over-politicization of everything, but fuck, even the name of this podcast, GamePoints, was derived from the idea of political talking points. But... because originally this was supposed to be like a political game show, and I was like, I quickly abandoned that idea real fast because I just want to have a fun time. I want creators to create. If the guy who made Night in the Woods, whose name escapes me right now, wants to make his game, which was essentially his idea of a post-capitalist society as the world was falling apart around him because of the evils of capitalism, wants to make a game, knock yourself out. Do it. Go for it. I support you having the ability to make whatever statement you want to. If you want to do it more subtly, like Gone Home did, and it was actually this, in my opinion, falsely pitched as a horror story, but then turned out to be this, no, it's just two chicks that fell in love and they ran away because they felt like they were being ostracized. Make that. Go for it. I support you doing that. I also support the developers that made Postal and Postal 2 taking the most offensive PC stance of all time and including fucking Milo Yiannopoulos as a playable character in it. Or not playable, but as a character in that game. Knock yourself out. I'm fine with it. If you want to make hatred, you remember that game?
No.
The top-down black and white is grayscale shooter where you were just a mass murderer? Knock yourself out. Make that game. Go for it.
I mean, I remember Manhunt.
Yeah, Manhunt. If you make a good game, I'll play it. I don't care if it's political or not. I am not going to tell developers that they have to fucking include politics in there. And let's be honest, when people are bitching that Division 2 won't be political, what they really mean is, I'm pissed that it's not giving what I want it to be politically. Because if they would have come out on the other side of what these people think, you can for sure guarantee that they would also catch hell over it. So I'm glad to see the CEO of Massive going, we don't want any part of it. Fuck off, we're here to make games. And just step away. But to ask,
there you go.
Yeah, to ask why he felt like it was necessary to mention this is because it has been talked about. There are people targeting specifically Ubisoft for this.
All right. I just don't yell at people on the internet, really. I guess I'm weird.
No, most people don't. The louder people get and the more they start demanding that others conform to their point of view or else. Like, you can have discussions about shit, but it's when they start adding the or else, be that or else we're going to get you fired or doxxed or punched in the street. The more people just start going, okay, you're nuts, go in this corner and scream amongst your friends.
And that's why I just like to play Rocket League, which is a clear commentary on the rise of the electric vehicle.
Yeah, Coco for tacos. You're not going to win with those types of people, so just focus on making games fun. That is the ultimate point that I'm getting at. Just in a really ranty, roundabout way, because this is one of those
if Coco
things...
was here earlier, we could have saved ourselves like 20 minutes of you talking.
This is just one of those things that just fire me up. And
dude, you get fired up about all kinds of stuff, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a short list.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. All right, let's... David, why don't you round it out with the last story here before we get into the other stuff? All
right, this one was... just the other day, I think, or on Friday? The
19th, so it would have been Friday?
From the ESLgaming.com, so this is like the esports website where they talk about all kinds of stuff. But John TotalBiscuit Bain is to be inducted posthumously into the Esports Hall of Fame at ESL in 2018.
Yeah. He's the first non-gaming player.
Yeah, he's not an actual, esport player, or was not an actual esport player, but he's still being added in just because of a lot of stuff that he did that contribute to the rise of esports. From, he had a WoW radio channel, YouTube shows, podcasts. He had events that he helped manage, sponsor, comment, produce, and kind of, in his way, helped drive some popularity towards StarCraft and Dota.
He went a long way in his efforts to legitimize esports as an actual thing instead of just some nerdy-ass activity. Let me read the article here itself. A true gaming legend will be inducted into the Esports Hall of Fame presented by Pay Safeguard during the ESL One Hamburg 2018 at the end of October. John Peter TotalBiscuit Bain. From forming WoW Radio to his numerous YouTube shows and podcasts, TotalBiscuit was widely respected for his vast influences across the gaming community, and his prominence also shaped esports scenes around him. While he was never a player himself, countless events were managed, sponsored, commentated, and produced by this true supporter of the sport. Aside from driving people towards such titles as StarCraft 2 and Dota 2, he even formed a professional StarCraft 2 team himself, Axiom. His influence on the esports scene cannot be understated, as his passion and support helped drive various competitive titles toward the heights they've reached today. He left behind a body of work unmatched by any other while still managing to give voice to the indie scenes and breakout players. His contributions to the industry are immeasurable, and as such, we are honored to induct him into the Esports Hall of Fame as the first non-player. His legacy will live on. Fucking amazing. TotalBiscuit's death actually hit me harder than I thought it was going to. And I am so happy to see him still get recognized for the contributions that he did for esports.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, the internet's a weird place, and a lot of people dislike him for various reasons.
Well,
but
yeah,
I
could go off on another
You're
rant.
not talking.
But I'm not going to.
I am talking. Shut up. But you cannot deny his contributions to esports. That's all I'm going with, regardless of what you think about the guy.
Fair
and
enough.
Anything he said. He did have a vested interest in this stuff, and he did do a lot to help push it into I don't know, more of a mainstream popularity. The guy had a lot of followers on YouTube, and if you tell a whole bunch of people, hey, there's this really cool thing called esports, and here's a bunch of links, and here's a bunch of teams that I like, and here's a bunch of stuff that you can watch, maybe you'll get 4% of them to watch. And if you have 3 million followers, that's a decent chunk of people.
Yeah, 4% of 3 million is still what, 12,000 people?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Also, my math can be way wrong on that, too.
As far as I can tell, the Esports Hall of Fame has 4 people in it.
Yeah.
So it has not been around for very long.
I'm into it. I like this idea. I mean, hell, the guy was a guest commentator on, I think he has his own announcement pack for StarCraft 2. I think he also has his own Dota 2 announcement pack. So he was clearly loved by the community as far as that goes. And good to see him get some more recognition, because I don't. The article says it best. His contributions are immeasurable. That man did a lot for the community.
The only thing, I'm sorry, as a minor aside, because I'm still looking at the Esports Hall of Fame list. Jonathan Wendell's not in it.
I don't know who that is. I don't know much about esports.
Jonathan Wendell, better known as Fatality.
Okay, I know who that is. I know who Fatality is.
Is the first, I think, major pro esports player from
in America.
Quake days. Yeah,
in America. Because once you start branching out to Southeast Asia and stuff, you have other.
No, that's fair, but I mean, this guy's almost 40. He was a professional gamer in 1999.
Damn, Fatality's almost 40?
Yeah, dude.
Christ, I didn't know that.
Yeah. His last game was Modern Warfare 2 that he played in competitively.
I also didn't know he was gone for that long. I thought he was still doing stuff.
Nope. But I mean, he made mice and mouse pads and
I see his branded shit everywhere. Well, everywhere.
I think he's still involved in the community somehow. But I just thought it was interesting that he wasn't in the Hall of Fame just because he's the name that I knew first back in the day.
Yeah, same here. I know that name. Well, I know his handle.
Yep.
All right.
But there you go.
Yeah, that wraps up for the
making
news.
It in.
We have our next segment, which is semi-rotating. We don't always do it, but on things to look out for this week. This is stuff that isn't necessarily fall under new releases, but stuff you should probably keep an eye on. This week,
is not really news.
Yeah, this week, the Fallout 76 beta for Xbox One owners launches. You must pre-order to get in it, by the way. If you want to play Fallout 76 and you have it pre-ordered on the Xbox, you can join it at the following times. If you're in U.S. Pacific, you can be 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. playing it on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. If you're U.S. Eastern, that's going to be 7 to 11. I believe that this is actually all the same time now that I look at it. So yeah, a 4-hour period between 4 to 8 p.m. Pacific time, Tuesday the 24th, 3rd. But you have to have it pre-ordered.
Fuck pre-orders.
Yeah.
And until I actually see this game in my hands, fuck Fallout 76. I was pretty hyped for this game until I watched that hour gameplay video, and it just looks like Fallout 4 with a multiplayer mod stuffed in it.
Yeah, I was kind of in the dark on Fallout 76 as well. Nothing
this
about
is
this
a game that
me.
really needed an open beta. If the game is good because the gameplay is fantastic, I need to see it. I mean, even if you're hey, by the way, here's a weekend and you get 4 hours and you can try this game so we can check our server load. Cool. But I don't know, especially with big online games like this, especially from Bethesda, I just don't trust it.
I don't trust
know that
it.
This game's going to run well.
But if one of you guys want to take a look at the Fallout 76 betas and let us know what your impressions are, please send them either at GamePoints PC on Twitter or down in the comments below on YouTube when you take a look at it. David,
Yes.
Fallout 76 is not this week, though. Still
No,
a couple weeks away.
it's not. It's gonna be
There
a minute.
are a few things coming out this week.
Oh,
Honestly, really just one. But let's break down
dude.
things that might be worth playing this week.
All right, well, we're going to start out with the big one. We're just going to get it out of the way. The greatest damn game ever is coming out this week, and that is Windjammers on Switch.
Wasn't sure which one you were going to throw in there. I knew it wasn't going to be the obvious one, though.
No, it had to be Windjammers, dude. This is the port of the 1994 classic featuring online multiplayer support. Windjammers, if you have no idea what it is kind of like Frisbee Pong.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
Yeah, basically you play as different characters that have speed and power ratings and special moves, and you maneuver around on your side of the court in, 8 different directions. A full 8 directions, that's right. And you throw the disc at your opponent, and then they have to try and be the offense and the defense, and they got to catch it and make sure it doesn't go, and then they throw it back. And Windjammers is ridiculous. It's a game that's pretty fun, and it came out on, I think, PS4 and PC and Xbox like a while ago, but now I'm getting on Switch. It's a game from 1994, and it definitely feels like a game from 1994, but who cares, man? Sometimes those games are cool. Also coming out this week, we have Just Dance 2019, coming out for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, Wii U, and Xbox 360. Yes, factually, all of those consoles.
That makes sense.
Just like the previous installments of the franchise, you dance along with the characters on the screen. So obviously, Wii U are in here because you have motion controllers, or you have the Xbox 360 with Kinect support, or you can play it with the Just Dance controller app on your smartphone. Anyway, and have fun with that. We also have Nickelodeon Kart Racers for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. I'm not quite sure why this game exists right now, but it does, and it's coming out this week. It has 12, that's right, 12 playable characters from 4 different Nickelodeon cartoons. You got SpongeBob, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Hey Arnold, and Rugrats.
What a weak lineup.
Dude, I don't even know. You want the full? Hey, we'll give you the full character list. I got time. We got SpongeBob.
No, I don't want
Patrick,
the full character list. Let's go on. Let's move on.
You
I'm
got
done
all
with
the
this.
4
I'm
of the
done with
turtles.
this. The only kart racer I want, David, is Halo Kart Racing.
Dude, but it also has a co-op mode where you can pull off devastating fuse attacks.
I don't care.
All right, well, that game exists. You're welcome. We have Thronebreaker, Witcher Tales for PC. This is also coming to console, but not until December, so it's coming out now. This is funny because this is the Gwent RPG spin-off, which in and of itself is a card game spin-off of an RPG.
Kind of want to look at this.
This looks kind of interesting. The overworld gameplay looks like isometric. You have a base. You manage your soldiers. The fighting still looks to be based on the Gwent card game mechanics, but then it has a little bit of like the Resistance board game flair because some of the soldiers that you hire can just betray you. And it's got like a big campaign and full story where you make decisions and they actually change the outcome of the story.
Yeah, I have an interest in this. I don't know if I'm ever going to sit down and do it because the last thing I need is another fucking card game to play, but cool idea.
And Coco completely nailed it. So an RPG spin-off of a card game spin-off of an RPG.
Correct.
That is absolutely correct.
Peter Jackson's King Kong, the movie, the game.
Street Fighter, the movie, the game. They did it first.
You're right, they did.
Also coming out this week, another decent one that I wanted to just bring up. The first DLC for Spider-Man comes out this week for PS4.
Oh, yeah, the Black Cat DLC. I might have to play through that. Spider-Man, an amazing game. I finished it on stream a couple nights ago, and goddamn, was that a good ending.
There you go. We also have Castlevania Requiem. Now, this is a PS4 only release. At least for now, we'll see what happens. But this actually has Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night in one package. This is just re-releases emulated for PS4, so it does have like 4K 1080 upscaling, high resolution backgrounds, different rendering options, smoothing, trophy support. It's $20 for the 93 and 97 Castlevania games. The big thing here is Symphony of the Night is fucking legendary, and for damn good reason.
One of the best games of all time.
This is the game that built the foundation for the Vania part of Metroidvania.
Yes.
This game is why that term exists.
One thing to keep in mind, from what I understand, this is the PSP port version of it. So all the corny dialogue that was classic from the PlayStation 1, not to be found here.
Correct. This is the remaster. So take that as you will, but I mean the game's still damn good. So there you go. Plus, this pack is only $20
Yeah.
for games that are only 20 and 25 years old. There you go.
Put this on the Switch and I'll buy it.
There you go. We need that. And finally, yes, we you knew I was gonna talk about it. It's gonna happen Friday, man. If you already bought it, the preload is available. You could be downloading this shit on your console right now. But Red Dead Redemption 2 hits PS4 and Xbox One on Friday. If you're a sucker that's buying a physical copy, you're gonna have to go out and pick it up at 10 o'clock or midnight or whatever, and then wait for that shit to download. That install, I'm pretty sure, weighs in over 100 gigs.
Yeah,
so
I will be playing this on stream this Thursday if all goes according to plan.
If
Keep in
if
mind,
you legit need me to explain to you what this game is, you have been living under a rock and you have no idea what a video game is. Like you wouldn't click on this show if you had no idea what Red Dead Redemption 2 is.
No.
I'm outrageously excited for it. You're excited for it. I think we've talked about Red Dead Redemption being one of my favorite games from that console generation. So yeah, I'm just a shoo-in for this flipping game.
I'm not like super hyped for it, but I'm excited to play it.
I hope this game respects my time at least a little bit.
Yeah.
For the main story campaign. I know for sure Red Dead Online isn't going to give a shit about my free time and is also going to want all my money. But that main story campaign with over 200 animals with accurately represented genitalia, I just want that to be a fulfilling experience.
And of course,
they definitely didn't crunch. They absolutely didn't.
That game is
just
why
for some writing.
It is such a short list because everything got the hell out of Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, it was enough.
This is why so many games are coming out in February.
Let's see. After much debating, Introspect picked up the special edition. Fair enough. Taco says Game of the Year right now. He's calling it now. Yeah, I can see that too. Rockstar tends to do that stuff too. So, or tends to do Game of the Year. Tends to be Game of the Year when it comes out. That's just how it works.
It's the biggest game that's coming out. The last time Rockstar put out a game was Grand Theft Auto 5, and that game is the #1 selling thing in all of entertainment media. Period. Right. Full stop.
And this will not overtake that, by the way. Completely different beast here. It's going to sell big, but it's not going to be GTA 5 big, in my opinion.
Again, we had this discussion. You have the Western style game, which absolutely appeals to a certain audience, but not quite as much as just the modern.
It's not
setting.
Mass spectrum appeal.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that wraps things up for new releases. And that means that also wraps things up for GamePoints. This has been episode 148, and we do appreciate you watching. If you're watching us here live at Twitch TV/GamePoints, we do go live every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So hop in and join the conversation, much like Coco for Tacos Introspect did. If you like what you see here, of course, give us a follow, subscribe. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription, by the way, and your free Prime subscription is up, I would love to have that as well. But by no means ever feel like you have to do that. I'm just jazzed to have you guys in chat. Coco, don't feel bad. I still appreciate you being here when you can. If you're watching us on YouTube at youtube.com/GamePointsPC, do the same. Like, comment, subscribe, and let us know down below what you think about the topics we covered or anything that we might have missed. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, do so at GamePointsPC. You can follow myself, Steven Brown, at CapusPig21. And you can follow David Smith over there at PastLife_story. Until next week, this has been GamePoints, and we're out of here.